Hey, so you read the title of this video, someone sent you a link to this video, you know exactly why you're here. You're looking to play Stepmania or itgmania on your Dance Dance Revolution or DDR arcade cabinet. So, hi, I'm Dim. I make rhythm game electronics, software, and hardware for the integrations of these different arcade systems. This is my Japanese-made DDR cabinet that I've had for 7 or 8 years, and I've done a lot to it. But today, it's running DDR Extreme. And at the moment, it has the stock Konami 573 inside of it. And I would like to take it to make it run Stepmania/itgmania with a standard desktop computer. So how do I do that? But before we go any further, let's talk about some of the goals we're trying to get to today. We're trying to use the stock configuration of this DDR cabinet exactly as it shipped. That means the original CRT monitor with its 15 kilohertz display, which can be a bit tricky to get a computer to output these days. We're not looking to make any pad IO replacements like the stack board, any foot PCB changes. We're trying to use exactly what shipped from Konami because we're not trying to make any modifications. This is exactly stock system. We want this to be entirely reversible. That means no cutting, no weird wires, no soldering things together. We want to be able to remove our modification and it was like it never happened. We also want to have an arcade experience. That means we want to be able to turn on the system, the computer automatically powers on, the game automatically starts, and all you have to do is press the start button. We want all the lights to work, all the input to work. We don't want any weird polling issues or timing issues. We want to use that low latency CRT display to our advantage and have a really good dance game experience. As a result, we're going to go with the ITG system image. It is an embedded system based on Linux designed specifically to run Stepmania and itgmania. It provides protection against reboots and crashes, so if the system is powered off at the end of the day at the arcade, it will automatically turn on the next time you apply power to it, no problem. It is optimized for high-speed input for these rhythm game polling. 1 kilohertz USB HID is all in there. It has setup scripts and utilities for all these different lighting cards and JAMMA harness adapters and USB systems, and it is a turnkey solution for doing this. So let's go over some of the requirements for this project. There's a lot of knowledge out there that would really help you to complete this project quicker and easier. There's some general arcade knowledge and troubleshooting, knowing your way around a multimeter, knowing how to work with high voltage systems as they can be very dangerous, knowing how to open your cabinet up and look for anything that goes wrong, because we are making the assumption that we're starting with a perfectly working Dance Dance Revolution cabinet with all the lights and input. There's a lot of computer knowledge out there that can help you get this done really quick. Things like knowing how to get into a BIOS or booting from a flash drive, wiping a system disk or an SSD. If you have some Linux knowledge, that would also help, but it is not required. Also understanding the basics of Stepmania and itgmania, knowing how to use scroll lock to get into the operator menu, navigating menus and songs, how to change different modes, getting in and setting the arcade settings. Knowing how the game works is a huge help. So there's a lot of random items you also need to complete this project. Then a lot of it's off the shelf, some of it you may have sitting around. For example, we're starting with this old office PC. I'm using a Dell 3020 Optiplex. It is a slim form factor machine that can fit nicely on the side of the cabinet or inside of it. I got it for free from an office that was closing down. It's really anything in the past 10-15 years would be absolutely wonderful for this. You can use a variety of systems. Just be sure that it has a PCI Express slot for the GPU. So the GPU can be kind of specific. We're using an ATI/AMD HD6450 graphics card, and the reason we're using this weird one is because it can do 15 kilohertz for the arcade CRT very easily. It has a Dell part number. It was manufactured in a very large quantity. They hover around $10 on eBay. And Stepmania/itgmania is not a very intensive game, so this older card that can do 15 kilohertz very well is really optimized for this task. You need some storage in the form of a SATA SSD. You can pick anything from 120 to 240 gigs. They're really cheap, just anything $10, $20. Whatever strikes your fancy, you'll probably do the job for this task. You need a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack to female RCA breakout cable for connecting the computer to the audio amplifier in the cabinet. You need a VGA cable to connect to the monitor in the cabinet. You need a DVI to VGA adapter, one of these small guys, to output the GPU to that cable. You need an AC power cord to power the computer. And you need a keyboard and mouse, a USB one, just to set everything up. Once it's set up, you won't need the keyboard and mouse anymore to play the game. You need a 4 GB flash drive or larger for this installer. I have this cheap Micro Center one. And you need a USB Type-C to Type-A cable to connect to the snek board. This is the magic sauce of this whole operation. It is an all-in-one JAMMA lighting and video amplification board. If you're familiar with previous products like the JPack or the Mini Mate or anything like that, it is all of that in one system. It does 1 kilohertz polling, high speed for this rhythm gameplay. It works on all Dance Dance Revolution cabinet models and systems, including Betson or the Korean-made ones, any of the SD models. It connects to your PC for Stepmania or any other game. It's a USB HID, so you can control the lights in a multitude of different ways. And I personally engineered this because I was unhappy with all of the current products in the market, and I wanted to make one card that does it all and solves the problem for good. If you're looking to purchase this item, you can check out my store at icedragon.io. The link is in the description. So, let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is open up your web browser and go to icedragon.io/itgimage. This is the complete system manual for this entire operating system and game. I highly recommend you read through all the pages to get a handle of how this is going to work. It contains the documentation, the troubleshooting, links, utilities and downloads, everything you need to get this set up and going on your arcade system. Once you've read over the manual, go ahead and download 2 key items. The first one is the system image itself at the top of the manual. It's around 2.5 gigs to download. It's not terrible. The other one is the utility TuxBoot, which will allow us to install that system image installer onto a flash drive. Once you have everything downloaded, go ahead and plug in your flash drive, make sure Windows sees it. Give TuxBoot a quick open. Select pre-downloaded, select 7ZS. Go ahead and select the system image you downloaded by clicking the 3 dots. Make sure you have the USB drive selected and you have the correct flash drive selected. You probably only have one in there, and then click OK. Now the copy process can take a minute because it's copying and extracting everything to your flash drive. If you don't have a terribly quick like 3.0 flash drive, it can take a little bit. So go ahead and wait, and once it tells you that it's done, safely eject the USB drive and remove it from your computer. Once you have your flash drive all set up, go ahead and give your PC a quick open. We're gonna go ahead and install our SATA SSD. Dell makes this really easy with their toolless systems. And we're also going to take the time to install our GPU into the slot. Again, with Dell, this is all toolless. You just lift it up and slide it right in the slot. Once everything's installed, go ahead and close it all up. You're done with the hardware. So with the flash drive and the hardware all installed in the computer, go ahead and plug everything up and turn on the computer. You're going to want to go into the BIOS. For Dell, in this case, this is pressing F12 on the keyboard as it starts up. And we're going to want to go to the power management section and turn on AC recovery to power on. This will allow the system, when you give it power, to automatically power on. So that goes with our arcade goals. We want to be able to plug this machine in and the game automatically starts up. So go ahead and hit apply, save, and leave the BIOS. With that setting applied, you're going to want to plug in your flash drive and then turn on the computer again. Go ahead and hit F12 again to get into the boot menu, and using the legacy boot option, legacy only, select the USB flash drive you just flashed. If everything goes correctly, you should get a nice little menu with a couple different options for the In the Groove installer. and you want to select clean install. Give it a minute to start up. Once it's in the clean install process, you need to select and confirm this is the SSD that you want to install to. Reminder, will wipe everything on that flash drive. Do not attempt to recover any data as it will be gone. And to confirm this deletion, you need to hit Y, enter, and then again Y, enter to confirm the fact you want to erase this SSD. With that done, the system should show you some progress bars copying all the files to the disk, and once it's done, it will prompt you to select an option. Now, there are 3 options depending on what monitor you have. So today we're using the original 15 kilohertz option. That means we want to hit 3 to select SD15. Now the manual goes into more information if you have a different type of monitor, but today we're going to be selecting SD15 for our 15 kilohertz arcade monitor. And then hit enter and the system will reboot. If everything goes according to plan, the system will come back up and your monitor will actually say out of range. And again, depends on what monitor you are using on your test bench, if it supports 15 kilohertz. But this monitor is telling us that it does not support this low resolution, which is actually what we want because we want to be able to use that resolution on our arcade machine. So with everything installed on the system, you got all your pieces together, it's time to actually put it in the game. So go ahead and make some room around the cabinet, pull the pads a little bit farther, move the cabinet away from the wall because you're going to need access to the back of the system. Now keep in mind what we're about to do and move forward with, there is a lot of high voltage and danger associated, so please take caution. I'm not responsible for any damage you make to yourself, the system, or any of its pieces. Once you've made some room, go ahead and look for a couple of screws that keep the back on, they just come right out. And once you have the back off, you need to look for this AC lockout. Now on Japanese made DDR cabinets, the game will not turn on unless the back is on. So once we got everything open, this is a Japanese made cabinet. Your cabinet may look a little different, it may be horizontal or have a different system, but basically what we're looking for is we're looking for the JAMMA harness and all the lighting adapters. You want to grab both sides of the harness, not by the cables, to slowly release that harness from the 573 originally. With the JAMMA harness removed, we need to move on to these lighting cables. They come out really easily if you know how to do them. You want to be able to take your thumb and press into the actual connector to release the lock that is on the cable itself. So just press down and then pull gently and it should come right out. Once you've removed all 4 of those lighting cables, you can take the 2 RCA audio jacks out of the 573. And after you've done that, pull all the wires out of the way and the 573 should come all the way out on its own tray. With the original 573 out of the system, we're ready to install and set up the snek board. So the first thing you're going to want to do with the snek board, especially since we're using the video amplifier on board, is you want to tell it what resolution it's looking for before it actually turns on the video amp. So in our case, we are using 15 kilohertz, which means we just have to take that first dip switch position and shift it up while the second dip switch position is down. There's more information in the manual if you need to read it. It's at icedragon.io/snek. And that should be everything you need to do on the board before you start connecting it. To install the snek board, just take it by the edge and make sure you have the orientation correct with the power, the black and the red on the left-hand side near the video connector, and just slot it directly into the JAMMA harness. Go ahead and grab those 4 lighting cables and pay attention to make sure that the locks, the little plastic tabs, are facing outward of the board, just like in this video. And go ahead and match up the red cabinet or unmarked cable, the 10 position one, into the cabinet selection. The base or the small 6 connector white one with 2 wires in it. And then you're going to want to look for either colored connectors, or in this case, Konami stamped them as 1P and 2P connectors for each of the pad I/O. If you mix these up, it'll just get the lights wrong and you can fix it after you're done. With all of the lighting harness cables connected, we can go ahead and connect up the VGA cable and the USB Type-C cable. As well as we need to fish out the original RCA adapters and go ahead and plug that up to our 3.5mm adapter for the computer. So all in all, we have the VGA cable, the headphone jack, and the USB cable ready to go up to our computer. So in this instance, I'm going to be placing the computer just on the shelf on the side of the machine. I can go ahead and start plugging up the USB cable, the audio, and the video adapter cable and put that all in there, as well as running power to a power strip that I have behind the machine. Once everything's hooked up and you have double checked all your work, go ahead and apply power. Make sure your computer is turning on just with the power light. And if you can take a look at the snek board itself, you are looking for the big white LED, the RGB one, to turn green to let you know it has received power. And it's going to be looking for that 15 kilohertz refresh. So once it actually sees the video signal come out of the computer in the proper resolution, the sync OK light will turn green on the left-hand side of the board right there. And you should be seeing a photo and an image on your CRT. You can go ahead and make sure that audio is working. If you enter the game, you should be able to hear stuff at the speakers. And once you've confirmed that, you can go into system mode by hitting caps lock and then Alt F4 to exit the game, and hit Win C, and you can go ahead and set up the lighting. So hit 2 for the snek option, hit enter, and the system will go ahead and reboot. Once it reboots, the lights should automatically start working. The player light should be blinking, the neon should be going, and the lights on the marquee should be cycling, and that should be all for your lights. The next step is to set up your input. So go ahead and go into the operator menu with scroll lock on your keyboard and go ahead and do configure keys/pads. And this is where your stepmania knowledge will really come into play. So you need to use the arrow keys and select each of the individual options for menu left, menu right, start, up, down, left, right. And don't forget to assign your operator menu. So you can see me just going through every single input on the game and just assigning everything. With everything configured and tested working, I went ahead and put the cabinet back into a space where I can go ahead and play a couple games. So I went ahead and loaded up a flash drive with some songs and copied some songs over to the game. For information, it's right in the manual. You can just copy paste the songs to the right directory and make sure they show up in the game. With all the songs in the game, the next step is to sync the cabinet. So every computer and audio card and video card and input device is a little different. So what you want to do is go ahead and navigate to your favorite on-sync song. A popular one in the ITG community is Drop Pop Candy. Hit F6 twice to go into the machine offset and go ahead and play a couple games and just dial in that number. So with all your favorite songs installed and the machine offset all dialed in, the input working, the lights working, the monitor working, you're pretty much good to go to just enjoy the dance game. Now, if you have any trouble with the installation of the operating system or setting it up or any of its configuration, the manual goes into explicit detail about all the possible issues and problems and things people have run into and have frequently asked questions, so I definitely refer to that. If you are looking to purchase a snek board, go ahead and type your web browser to go to icedragon.io. If you need any further help, I would not recommend using the YouTube comments. I cannot answer technical questions in the form of a YouTube comment. YouTube makes it very difficult to find threads and information and discuss things. I do recommend that you join our Discord server in the description. It is a Discord server for a bunch of different rhythm games and dance games, and it will be a plethora of information you can search from, and plenty of other people can help chime in and solve your issue there. So I'd like to thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have fun with your arcade dance game.